My name's Natasha, and I'm 14 years old, and I live in Athlone, County Westmeath. I come from a family of four with my mom, my dad, and my brother. We're a pretty small family, but I kind of like it that way. One thing that I guess we all have in common is like our love for music. My grandfather is a priest of a church, and he always got the whole family to sing songs at church, and that was some of my best memories as a child was going to church and singing with my cousins and my friends, and I guess that's why I developed such a strong interest in music. I do kind of like to write my own songs, but I find that if I write a song today, if I look back at it maybe a year or two from now, I kind of think, what was I writing? I really do love my country, and the little time that I spent there, I really enjoyed myself. And I do see myself going back. I have so many family members that I love there. My first Christmas in Zimbabwe, we went to the Victoria Falls, which is on the border between Zimbabwe and Mozambique. It was the most amazing holiday I think I've ever had in my life. Seeing that, outside of what are the harsh realities, I guess, of living in an African country, there is such beauty that I've never ever seen in any other country that I've been to. Zimbabwe is such a place full of culture, and even through all the struggles and all the difficulties that are faced within the country, people are so happy at the end of the day. We sing, we dance, we enjoy our culture, we come together as a family. The one thing that we want to do is keep our culture and our tradition alive. So when I came here, I think it's one of the things I loved about Ireland, the tradition. Well, I was born in the UK and my family went back to Zimbabwe. And after a few years, we decided that we had to come here to Ireland. There was a lot of problems between my mother and I guess you could say the government really, and the movement that my mother was trying to bring about. My mother's always been huge in making sure that girls have education and girls are able to, and women are able to make decisions in our country. She was a huge target from the government, who looked at it as her opposing her government. All my mother really wanted to do was give women a voice to speak in our country. Everything got so bad, and there was a lot of pressure put upon my mom, and my mom just knew she couldn't take it anymore, and she didn't want her family to end up having to pay for her wanting her voice. So we decided to come to Ireland. Personalities clash because my mom and I are so alike, but she means so much to me. And every time that I am asked to talk about my life as someone who lived in direct provision, I always think of all the stuff that my mom did, the influence that she is in my life. Yeah, I mean, when I first came to Ireland and I went to my first primary school, I remember walking into the classroom. My teacher kind of spoke to me as if I didn't know how to speak English. And when I spoke and I had the accent that I have and stuff, she was absolutely surprised. She thought I wouldn't be able to speak English. She thought I would, I guess, be illiterate. I ended up being one of the best students in my class. People in Zimbabwe are very educated. English is one of our main languages in Zimbabwe. But I think that was one of the main preconceptions at first when I first came to Ireland. When they think of someone who's come from Africa, they think of poverty, they think of, lack of education. I remember when we were looking for our home, when we were leaving the accommodation center. It was a huge struggle finding a place to stay because people seem to put all Africans under one category, loud, they don't know what they're doing. We had to make sure that we kind of said to them, we are going to take care of your home. We are going to make sure that we pay whatever money or rent we have to. It was a funny thing, I guess, to know that the minute people hear, I guess, your voice or they see you, they immediately think trouble. It is kind of hurtful that just because of the color of my skin, people automatically put me under a certain category. What I love the most about Ireland has to be like the people. I think I do feel Irish sometimes, but there are also some times when I don't. I feel Irish when I'm able, to talk about the same things with my friends, and we're able to laugh and have discussions, and I feel like a normal Irish teenager. But at the same time, when People say, as an Irish citizen, you are an EU citizen, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that. And I kind of have to sit there and say, well, I can't do that. I'm not free to do this. And it's harder for me to get around certain things. And that's kind of heartbreaking. And I hope one day I'll be able to say, without any doubt in my mind that I am Irish. But I do feel Irish sometimes, especially when I'm with the people who make me feel most welcomed. A huge challenge I think that will face me is when I guess I'm doing my leaving cert, for example, and I'm trying to get into a university. In my mind, I'm thinking, will it be harder for me? I'm not necessarily entitled to all the same things as an Irish person would be, or that we may not have the money to go to third level education. The color of my skin, I feel, is going to be a huge barrier in my life. My mother always tells me, Natasha, your friend has to work hard, but you have to work 3 times harder, because there are a lot of people who still in their mind can't look behind the color of your skin, and the first thing they see is the color of your skin, and they immediately put up this barrier or this wall or these misconceptions about who you are. And sometimes I know we're starting to live in a society, I guess, that's against racism, but there still are a lot of people who feel like before a black person gets a job, a white person should, or before a person who's not Irish gets a job, an Irish person should. So I feel like that's going to be a huge barrier for me in life, but I always take my mother's words of wisdom. When she does say I have to work 3 times harder, I see it every single day in my life. Black women and women of color, I guess, do have to work 3 times harder for what they want in life. But for now, that's the life we have to live, and I'm just gonna have to work harder. I hope to do biochemistry at university. I remember coming in and learning science and just thinking, in this textbook, what I was learning about, there was no difference between a black person and a white person, or a male or a female in the context that we're all made up of these cells that aren't different. We're all the same makeup. Science is that one thing that doesn't discriminate against anyone. I am not different to the person next to me. I am able to get the same, I guess, diseases as someone else. I'm able to inherit the same abilities as someone else, because science really is not discriminative. And that's where my passion really lies. One good thing I can say about the Irish government, in comparison to other governments, they have provided me with a safe home. And even though there was a lot of difficulties in where I stayed, I'm still, and I will always be grateful for what I was given, because I was given the chance to start anew. But if I could say something to the government and to the leaders of Ireland, it's that we're not just refugees. That word is used way too lightly when there are conversations concerning these people. If the Irish government had to sit there and say all of the names of all the refugees in Ireland, I think there would be a big difference, because people would say, these are people. But because we've been put under this title, refugees, we've almost become an object instead of humans. I guess I'm gonna quote Bob Marley. I'm gonna say, one love, one heart, let's get together and we'll be all right. And that's really the message that is the heart of every issue in the world, not just with refugees. It's really love and understanding. The one question I want you to ask yourself is, who are you? And the person next to you, ask them who they are. Because I'm sure under all of our hobbies and everything that makes us different people, we all want the same things in life. So asking yourself who you are, and are you any much different to a refugee child, is an important thing, because a lot of refugees were happy in their countries and did want to do well and had aspirations and had goals. Allow refugees to be able to one day say, I live in a country where I am the same as each and every other person. In a classroom, I am the same as the person sitting next to me and in front of me and behind me. We have the same rights, the same opportunities, and I can be whatever I want to be. For me, the one thing that I always go by is that the best way to change a situation is to change me first. The likes of racism or discrimination, it doesn't all start with our government. Our government aren't doing this. It starts with the people who we are first. You know, if I want to end racism, I have to be able to look at someone else and not say, oh, they're this or they're that. I need to be able to say, we're all humans. I want the same respect that you want. And so I guess respect others and treat others as you would like to be treated yourself.